Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Focusing on the vision transformation through education, the Judicial Education Institute of Trinidad and Tobago, or JEITT, facilitates the continuous training and development of judges, other judicial officers and non-judicial staff attached to the judiciary. Chairman of the JEITT, Justice Gillian Lucky, Judge of the Court of Appeal, she joins us to share more on the Institute, as well as the 10th Distinguished Jurist Lecture, which takes place on Tuesday, June 18. Thank you so much for making the time. And I want us to build this conversation, not interview, conversation from the ground up. So what is the role of the JEITT?
The role of the JEITT is to ensure that we embrace everyone through education in terms of sharing with everyone, educating persons about access to justice and the administration of justice as it operates in our judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. As a result, it's not just about training judicial officers and court staff. It's also about reaching out to other persons through our networking, through other entities, so that they understand how this organization called the judiciary, the third arm of the state, operates.
Well, how important is it to have an operation initiative like this where it allows for individuals to feel vulnerable? Because sometimes you're operating from a point where I'm supposed to know and I'm supposed to interact with people as though I know. So the opportunity to say, okay, well, let me empty my cup so that I can learn more to better serve.
Right, and that's why we have to ensure as a judiciary, through the JEITT, we give persons from all walks of life the assurance that you are not expected to know. We are here to serve. We are service-oriented. Justice is justice for all, and its accessibility and availability means that we are recognizing that people have rights. They may not understand how to, exercise those rights or how to ensure that if those rights are trampled upon, what is the correct avenue? What should they do? That's what education is about, and that's the role that the JEITT plays.
And with that, that brings us to this 10th lecture. Give us an overview of the series, thanks.
Sure. So it's called the Distinguished Jurist Lecture, and it's something that began as early as 2011. And traditionally, it has been, as the name suggests, that we identify an individual who has contributed in a significant way towards enhancing and advancing the justice system, or has played a pivotal role in terms of being a jurist in developing the law. And I just want to add, from 2011 to now, we've had, as I said, mainly persons who are legal luminaries, but we also had 2 DJLs ago, because we call the DJL Dr. Wayne Frederick. I'm sure you know about him, DK. He is the president and the head of the Howard University. He was at that time, came to Trinidad and Tobago, and although not an attorney at law, spoke to us about leadership and the vision that you must have. And it resonated with everyone, because but I should put it this way, every one of us has to understand leadership. We also have to be mentors. And what he was able to do is to show us in his experience the skills that he had to use and how he honed in those skills to take the Howard University and advance it to where it has reached today as a very outstanding university that is well respected internationally.
And I appreciate that, because sometimes we have a tendency to be kind of linear in our thinking and say, well, it can only be, as opposed to being able to connect those dots and think laterally and say, okay, well, this is his experience here. Correct. How can I take it to my situation?
Which gets us to where we are now with this DJL. Because in this DJL, we have a very renowned intellect. Yes, he's a former judge of the Constitutional Court in South Africa, coming to speak to us about constitutions, their content and their confines, and speaking to us about the experience in South Africa when after apartheid, I know some people say apartheid, whichever is the correct pronunciation, but there was a challenge that was facing South Africa. How do you now create a constitution in which there will be inclusivity, in which there will be the recognition of the diversity of the population. And when we begin to speak like this, already we get that resonating with what happens to us here in the Caribbean and what we have to be thinking about in Trinidad and Tobago, but the wider region. And therefore, we have an expert who lived through this experience, who would have made his own contribution, who would have seen how the courts, the judiciary, had to address the provisions in this new constitution. And therefore, we are coming to share, we are coming to engage. This is an expert who's coming to say to us, listen, this is what we faced, these were our challenges, this is what we still have to address, and if there is anything here that you can take away, that you can make better, here it is for you. And I think that is what makes it so exciting.
And I'm feeding off of that enthusiasm, and I'm thinking, because there's a potential to learn how to take the situation that you're at and move so that the Constitution serves, and it is a living, breathing document,
exactly,
as opposed to something that is very monolithic and times would have changed.
Exactly. And the recognition that the Constitution is the embodiment of what we as a society want to be, where we want to go, to ensure that when we reach there, we are able to maintain our place and again, promote the kind of civilization that we want to be proud of, meaning as ourselves. And what is very interesting, and that's why I think, you know, I'm encouraging everyone to listen to this discourse, because it is a wonderful opportunity to hear not only from a learned individual in Justice Edwin Cameron, but also to recognize the parallels with South Africa and Trinidad and Tobago, both countries having a colonial past, both countries being very rich in terms of the cultural heritage, and both countries wanting to ensure that there is that inclusivity, recognizing the diversity. And also, what more do we need to have in our Constitution to get us where we want to be? I mean, to me, that's what it is. A Constitution, yes, it is the legal framework that provides for how powers are to be exercised by those who are given the responsibility. But it is also meant to be inclusive, I keep using that word, of all of our society, of all of our peoples, of all of our dreams and aspirations. That is what a Constitution is.
Well, with this level of inclusivity and with this resonance on so many points, who is this for?
The Constitution is to serve the people. The Constitution must be something that comes from the people. And that is why every opportunity given to persons to make a contribution, to get their skin in the game, to have their views considered. That's what people are asking for at the end of the day, because you cannot provide for all of the people all of the time. But what you can determine is what are the best things that can be provided for all of the people that will be able to ensure that everybody feels that they're being treated with respect, that human dignity is something that people are prepared to preserve and promote, and that there is equality and that there's equity. And that is what, I mean, I've used the opportunity, I must tell you, Dike, to speak to persons within our organization, the JEITT. And that is something, and I'm not giving away anything, so it's not a spoiler alert, but it'll be interesting for persons to hear what persons from different walks of life, different ages had to say about what the Constitution means to that particular person. And there was a golden thread. And the golden thread that runs through it is that people want a Constitution to be that document, to be that commitment that is given, that they are being provided for, that everybody has equal opportunity, that everybody has access to justice. That is what people want to see in a Constitution. They don't want to see a Constitution provided only for a particular part of the population or a particular elite. When you read the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, any Constitution, you must see yourself in it. You must see yourself in it to the extent that you know if anybody is taking away something that is there for you, you are going to be able to have some avenue for redress.
And with that, just before we take the break, I want to give a little prelude in the sense that we're going to ask you to wear a few different hats on the other side of the conversation. Also, we know that it's taking place on the 18th of June, which is Tuesday.
That's right.
But how do people engage with it? Is there a certain amount of, what does the cohort look like? Well, we're going to do that on the other side of the break.
I get you.
Stay with us. We come back after this. Welcome back. We are speaking with the chair of the JEITT, Justice Gillian Lucky. But let me know, please.
Sure.
So we know it's on the 18th. We know how do people tune in, listen, be a part of it? What is the ideal cohort?
Okay, good. So it is being conducted in our convocation hall in the Hall of Justice. That's on Knox Street. And as it stands, of course, we have limited capacity and we're almost filled with capacity, but we did not want to deprive anyone because remember, there are persons in Trinidad and Tobago, and I always like to stress and Tobago, and there are also persons who are in remote areas. And when I say remote, transport may not be the easiest. It starts at 5 p.m. and ends at 7 p.m. So we also have to cater for persons who have to go home. And in those circumstances, persons who cannot come live and attend can get it because it will be streamed live. And there will be the opportunity using the social media because we are very much all around the judiciary with social media and how important it is, and also how it shows accessibility, and it enables persons from wherever they are to tune in and be a part of the conversation. We want full engagement.
So when you say be a part of the conversation, people can share questions, comments, observations as well.
As young people used to say in my day, you ask and answers, because what we have, there's going to be a break. And during that intermission or break, that is when persons are going to be able to using QR codes and so, send their questions in, because there's going to be a session after the presentation when the president of the JEITT, and that is, of course, the Honorable the Chief Justice Ivor Archie, ORTT, will be engaging, as two of us are sitting here, will be engaging in a fireside type conversation. This is Justice Cameron speaking with our Chief Justice, and there will be the fielding of questions. So it wouldn't just be the questions of those who are present in our hall, but those who are streaming in. And what is also going to be great is there are so many questions that could be answered in the time frame. You realize it's short, the time frame. And in the circumstances, as we've done in the past, we keep those questions, and Justice Cameron has kindly agreed to address them when he heads back to his home. And then that will be sent to us in the JEITT, and then we will, using our communications department of the judiciary. And they're very efficient and effective. They've been helping us in terms of, because it's all a part of everybody in the judiciary working together. And what we will do is when we get the answers to those questions, we again, using social media, will ensure that it is sent out to everyone.
And with that, let us know some of those handles. Where do people go to look for QR codes, to send questions, to just be aware of some of the information that is being shared?
When you come into the convocation hall, digitally you're going to be given, and you'll have your phone. Yes, so when you come into the convocation hall, normally you hand out the agenda or your pamphlet. You will be actually given a QR code, and that's going to come on your phone. And that's going to be using, I think you must know this, Dike, the flip page, so you will be seeing everything on the flip page. So we're saving trees as we move along. And then contained in that very document would be the method that you'll be using to send your questions digitally, which we will be receiving at Central Command and ensuring that the moderator gets the questions. Those who, again, are not in the room, remember I said we were live streaming, they're going to be using a similar type facility.
All right. And that level of inclusivity makes me want to ask, what is the significance of specifically inviting Chief Ricardo Barrett Hernandez?
Yes, because they are our first people. They are indigenous people. It's interesting that in South Africa, there's actually provision in their constitution for the cultural heritage and indigenous people. And many times we forget the people who were here first. And that is why when we were in school, and sometimes you would hear people say we were discovered. We were not discovered by Mr. Christopher Columbus. We were already in existence. He came upon us. And I won't talk too much about what happened after he came upon us. So we're very happy to say that Chief Hernandez is coming, and he's bringing his team. And again, spoiler alert, if all goes well, they'll just be doing a little something for us, because we must always show respect to those who were here before us. If we want to move forward with our constitution, and if we want to be that society that really is inclusive and represents the best in all of us, we must show respect to those who were here and those who kept this land going for us, meaning those who we met, those who many of us arrived, but they were here. And we are really happy that he is coming with his troop.
And paying attention or paying respect and sitting at the feet of elders to better stand on their shoulders is important. But
Can I interrupt? I have to interrupt to just say that, to show you how the JEITT works both ways, because we want to educate, but we also want to learn. And when I interacted with Chief Hernandez, I asked him, after the DJL, of course, right, because you could imagine how things are just moving at high pace, if he would be willing to come and educate us about indigenous people, and so that we could learn. And he said a resounding yes. So I'm showing you how we too are going to be learning, so that when we go out and we say we are educating, remember it's a two-way street. And he's agreed, so I'm holding him to that.
And so we have about 3 minutes, but looking at learning, looking at precedents from other spaces, jurisdictions, what are some of the precedents that you've seen with regard to preserving cultural heritage through legislation, looking at precedents specifically for musical instruments?
All right, so you know where you're going. So I'm wearing, so I'm taking off the judicial cap, if I might, and I'm speaking now as citizen Gillian Lucky. I've always been very proud that we invented the steel pan. The steel pan is our musical invention, and I'm very happy that it has gotten the status and will be getting the status in legislation of being our national instrument. I should say, let me not be presumptive. Let me just say that that legislation, the bill has been laid in Parliament for debate. The fact is that we are such a culturally rich and diverse population that I would like to see, for example, I'm speaking as a citizen, the right to culture. And through the right of culture, I really would like the steel pan to get constitutional recognition, because I'm clear in my mind that the steel pan is the great harmonizer. We underestimate the number of persons in our population who are involved in this steel band music, whether as players, artisans, producers, spectators. Just look at the fight at the panorama. Just look how people come out to support their bands. It's in churches, it's in schools. I would like to see the steel pan being taught practically in our schools throughout Trinidad and Tobago, because it is the national instrument. And therefore, I'm saying, so I speak to wanting to see the right to culture, but there are persons who have been speaking about the right to a healthy environment, the right to housing, the right to healthcare. There are so many rights that people want. And again, what is the golden thread running through everything? People want to be a part of the Constitution, not apart from it. And they want to see themselves somewhere saying, oh yeah, that's me. So if the steel pan could talk, it would see itself in the Constitution.
And that reminds me a little bit of this gentleman who sang Bionic. He said, Calypso, they fed up the lion on a shelf, so they're tired now, they start talking for themselves. And nice. This is my show, Sing and Play Me. But Professor Agri Brown, he says that culture constitutes the symbolic, instrumental, and social responses of collectivities of people to their environment. What would you like people to look at our Constitution from outside and say that Trinidad and Tobago says about their culture?
Trinidad and Tobago says that it respects its culture and that it is prepared to be inclusive, and it's prepared to show that that respect of culture that we would have for everyone, because we are culturally diverse, we are rich in our heritage, is something that will make us better people, because it means that we are promoting respect and equity and equality.
And I want you to put back on the chair hat for just a moment.
All right, hold on, it's on.
30 seconds to wrap the conversation, especially on the lecture.
I want to say to everybody, we are getting an opportunity to hear a dynamic speaker who is coming with a wealth of knowledge, who is coming to share and engage, to expose us to something that we will benefit from. Take the time to listen. Whether you agree or disagree with what will be shared, it means that you're giving it meaningful conversation. Remember, the Constitution provides the framework, some will say the vehicle, for us to become the people that we want to be, so that we can all be proud Trinbagonians, respecting each and every one, where every creed and race find an equal place. Or finds, as the case may be.
And there you heard it from Justice and Citizen Gillian Lucky. Remember, it's on the 18th of June, which is Tuesday from 5 to 7. If you're not there in person, you have no excuse. You can tune in via streaming and let your voice be heard, engage with the process. And on behalf of the entire news team of Dike Rostant, thank you so much for joining us.